Show you how you can figure out exactly which questions you missed on your HESI exam. So first, let's go to Google and search for HESI Advisor. I'm also going to give you some study tips and the mindset that you should have while taking this exam. You're going to go to evolve.evolzer.com, click here, go to the portal. Whenever you took your HESI exam, you should have signed up and made a username and password. So we're going to go back here to sign in. Sign in with your information. I have 2 accounts because I've taken the test 5 times total and I forgot my original information. Go to Student Access. And here you shall see all of your attempts that you have taken. This is also where you would go to print off your results if you were turning in your results for the program for whatever allied health program you were applying to. So if you want to see your results, you're going to go over here, click on the plus sign, and it'll bring up all your results for each individual category. I took math, grammar, anatomy, reading comprehension, and vocabulary. And for this one, we're going to start off looking with reading comprehension. So we're going to click View Results. Go to Results Report PDF. Click that. It'll open a new tab, and you'll have to wait a minute for it to load. And here you go. I took V2, so version 2. There's 2 different versions of the HESI. I think V1 is a little bit easier than V2. I've had V2 3 times and V1 twice. So here you'll see the different types of questions that you missed in this category, but if you scroll down further, you'll be able to see which questions you missed exactly. So I missed number 1, 29, 31, and 35. And when you're taking the reading portion, I recommend starting with the reading portion first, just because it is so long. There's 55 questions. The stories are not that interesting, so it can be kind of boring. So do this one first so you can really concentrate. And while you're taking this, I want you to try to remember the order of the stories that you got, because there's going to be about 7 to maybe 10 different types of passages. And for each passage, there'll probably be about 3 to 5 questions. And each passage should be maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 at the most paragraphs, each having about 4 to 5 sentences in each paragraph. So you need to remember the order that you had your stories and try the best to remember the questions. There are going to be a lot of questions that are kind of like freebies and you're just going to remember them. But if you can't find out the answer to a question and you just don't know, you will be given scratch paper. Write down the question that you don't know and the answer choices, and circle the answer choice that you chose. And as soon as you're done with your test, come here, find your results, see what question you missed, and think back really hard. Remember, was that story in the beginning, the middle, or the end of your exam? And if you see that that's the question that you missed, then you know that the next time you take this test and you get that question, you're not going to pick that answer. You're going to pick something different. And you're probably like, well, what if I don't get that version of the test again? Well, I got the first time I took the exam, I got the V1. The second time, I got V2 again. I got V1 again. So, in the same time, got the same exam. Took it a third time, I got V2. Fourth time, got V2 again. Fifth time, I got V2 again. Kind of weird, but after I got the same test 3 times in a row, since it was the last time I took it, I remembered almost everything, and I was able to get a 95.6, which was the highest I got. And I ended up getting a 97 in the reading and 100 in the anatomy. So we can see every question that we got wrong. If we go back over here, we can look at the anatomy. Anatomy and physiology, I got a 96. Let's view results. And taking forever. See, I finished this in only 5 minutes. There's 20 questions on the anatomy portion, and I just flew through it because I just knew the answers. Some of the questions are just freebies, like you don't really have to worry about it too much. So I missed a question about the organization of the body. So this could be like a question where it's like, cell, tissue, organ, body, organ system, and then it's like organism. And I should have got that right, but as you can see, I finished this in 5 minutes. I flew through it. I should have took my time and really read the question, and I probably would have got 100, but I didn't. The anatomy section is not that hard. I feel like the questions were about on par with the questions that I had in my anatomy and physiology 1 and 2 class. There was nothing that was not covered in those classes. So for the anatomy section, I recommend knowing the different types of joints, the basics of the nervous system, the CNS versus the PNS, the endocrine system, what are the different types of hormones, what glands secrete them, and what are the functions. You need to know the different types of glands like endocrine, exocrine, apocrine. Know the different types of body cavities, the body planes, coronal, sagittal, mid-sagittal. You're going to want to know the anatomy of the heart, the functions of each part of the heart, be aware of the blood flow of the heart, and know what the arteries and veins and where they carry blood to and what they are supplying. Be familiar with male and female urinary systems, the reproductive anatomy and function of those organs. Know your immune system, the different type of cells that are involved. Also study the integumentary system. Basically, just know all of the different body systems. And if you do that, you will probably do really good on this portion. And you should also really know all the muscles, all of the bones in the body, where they're located, what are their functions, and be familiar with mitosis. So I just want to show that this was, I think, the second time I took the 2 exam for the reading comprehension. Over here was the first time. I scored an 86. But like I said, I remembered the questions and I was like, I'm not going to get those questions wrong again. And I changed that. I didn't get them wrong again. Took the exam about 2 months later and I did much better. Then I took it again and then I only missed 2. And I improved my score so much because of that. For the reading comprehension, there are just a couple of things that you should do. You really need to take your time and read the passages very slowly. Read them multiple times if you have to. Pay attention for context clues. Look for the main idea in the first and the last sentence. Be able to summarize these passages. Be able to find the conclusion. What's the point of this passage? Is it informational? Is it persuasive? And pay attention to different words, like what does this word mean? Be able to answer different types of vocabulary questions within the reading comprehension portion of the exam. Now, let's see, let's go over here. This is going to be over the math portion. The first time I took this one, I got an 88. I did not do so good. But at one point, since I've taken the math, I've taken this 5 times. At one point, I got 100. So it's not that bad, I promise you. It sounds scary, but it's not. So for the math portion, you're not going to see the exact types of questions, but they give you a pretty good idea. So you need to be able to, if the car is driving a certain amount of speed, going a certain distance, be able to calculate that. That's kind of a word problem that you might see. Be familiar with military time and know how to convert that. Know how to convert with the metric system. For the metric system, as soon as you sit down for your exam, I want you to take your scratch paper and write down all of the conversions for mass, length, volume, your centimeters to inches, milliliters to liters, mass and kilograms. Know how to convert those. If you have your chart already made out for you, then that's great and you'll save so much time. Another thing that I used that really helped me was the Big G method. I want to show you guys that real quick. Yeah, the Big G math images. And yeah, right here. So 1 gallon has 4 quarts in it. 1 quart has 2 pints in it. And each pint has 2 cups in it. And there are a total of 16 cups in 1 gallon. So on your scratch paper, just write the G. Do Q, 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 PP, 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 and fill it in with your C's. And then you can always reference this little picture on your scratch paper and get all of those conversion questions right because of this easy little graph. It's easy. Let's see, let's go back to the math. There's going to be a couple of very simple algebra problems, like you might need to find the value, find x, solve for x. I think I remember some absolute value questions. You're going to want to find the largest common denominator, the lowest common denominator. Be able to know your decimal places, convert a decimal to a percentage to a decimal. Know how to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, Celsius to Fahrenheit. When it comes to fractions, you're going to want to multiply your fractions, divide your fractions, subtract, add, all of that. And be familiar with ratios and proportions and converting those back and forth, your whole numbers, your mixed numbers, things like that. Roman numerals are also important. I would brush up on Roman numerals if you haven't. I'm just showing you guys. See, on this time, I only got 3 of the questions wrong. I missed the basic algebra question, I missed another algebra question, and gallons and ounces. So really draw that big G. That'll help you not miss those questions. Over here, we had I missed 2 on the cardiovascular and then the reproductive organs. Really focus on the anatomy of the heart and know your reproductive organs and their functions. When we go back over here, I just want to show you guys that if you view your results on vocabulary and grammar, there's really nothing to show. They don't really help you out on that one. So if you're wanting to see which questions you missed on that, they don't really show you anything on that, which is kind of unfortunate. Just end of report. So for that, I want to give you just a little bit of advice on what you can do in that case. So for the vocabulary portion, I really highly recommend buying the HESI Admission Assessment Exam Review. It's a book that's blue, white, and yellow. I'm going to Google a picture of that for you real quick. Yeah. It looks like this. This is the best book that I used. It breaks down the math section to incredibly basic. It's so easy to understand. The vocabulary in here is great. It has little quizzes in there so you can test yourself, and I loved it. Also, I don't really consider myself to have a very extensive vocabulary or anything, but I knew almost all of the words that were in the vocabulary portion. I didn't find that to be too hard, but if I didn't know what the word was, I kind of just looked for prefixes and suffixes and like the root words, and I would use that to be able to decode whatever the word was to give my best guess for what I thought that word meant. Also, I feel like some of the words kind of were familiar from like biology and anatomy and physiology, so that helped me figure out a couple of things with that as well. This book is really good for vocabulary, your grammar, and the math section. The anatomy section here is also really good too. I was all over say buy this book 100%. Of the HESI exam, when you go to view your results, it doesn't show you the questions that you missed. So for this part, this is more of just something that you need to focus on your own. I would recommend going back to the basics, just knowing when to use period, a comma, colons and semicolons, exclamations, question marks, being able to know mistakes in sentences like then and than, it's, know have and had, when to use those, there are, things like that. Very easy things like that. Also, probably know itself, themselves, himself, herself, selves. Just know when to use those and when not to use those. Other than that, the grammar part really isn't that bad. I downloaded Grammarly, and I would write practice questions, and I would let them correct my grammar, and that's how I practiced for that portion. And that worked out really well for me. The only other thing that I have to say is as soon as you're done with this exam, you need to sit there for a little bit and look at your scratch paper. You wrote down all the questions that you weren't sure of and the answer choice that you put. Sit there for 20 to 30 minutes, whatever time you have left, and just read those, focus on those. If you have a photographic memory, that's great. And go home and think about those. As soon as you leave that room, get your phone out and open notes and use your voice to text or do a voice memo and just start talking and talk about everything that you can remember from the exam that you think that you need to work on. That way, when you get home, you know exactly what to do. And as soon as the exam's over, don't forget to log into here to see what you missed, because if you wait, you're not going to remember. You need to do this when it's fresh on your brain. That's going to help you the most. Okay, you guys, other than that, I really don't have any more tips. Just to take your time, read the question multiple times. If you wear your glasses, especially in the math section. Take your time, be very organized, watch your decimal places. You don't want to miss a question just because of a lazy mistake. You do get the very basic calculator for that section, and anytime I work out a problem, I always work it out twice. And if I see that I have good time, I work it out a third time. I'm not going to miss a question over a basic mistake. Okay? All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and good luck on your exam. And I hope you get into whatever program you're applying for.